to December 12th, as about 20 governments or 20 countries are gearing to convene in Dubai for COP28. Now, what is COP28? COP simply means Conference of Parties, and it is an annual climate meeting where countries meet to discuss on how to limit and prepare the future for climate change. And this year's is a 28th edition. And guess what? We have Cameroonian youth leaders and delegates going for COP28 in Dubai this year. And you'll be surprised to know that one of my guests for today will be in Dubai as well for COP28. So you want to stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Keep watching the program right up to the end. And now let's look at the last aspect, which is troubling us, especially in Cameroon. Cameroonians are wondering where dry season has gone to. That is a worry on the lips and tongues of almost every Cameroonian. And even some few days back, or just yesterday, popular comedian Caro, Ben Lilian, fondly called Caro, made a post on Facebook, and I quote, "If them don't postpone dry season this year, make them tell we now wait it is." And of course, another concerned Cameroonian made another post again on Facebook in Pidgin: "Rainy days where will be the save money for, don't deny for go." Of course, these worries are not unfounded. They are not from space, because we have been witnessing heavy rains of late, and which is quite unexpected because we are in the month of November, which people would have thought would have been a typical dry season. And just yesterday, it was heavily rainy, up to the point where a particular stream in the university, beside the University of Boya, had to experience high currents. Let's watch this video and see what I'm talking about. If the video is already on our screens, you see the overflow of that particular stream, the current. And one thing you may hear is that maybe it has carried somebody. And you may be wondering, why are we experiencing this high current or heavy rainfall in November? It is what we call climate change, the change in weather patterns, which affects all of us, but more particularly affects one particular group the most, which I would say the women. And of course, UN statistics have shown that one of the most affected by climate change are the women. But then again, how are they affected by climate change? I'm not an expert here. That is why I've gathered a cream of guests for you this afternoon, so that I can explain to you and I how women are affected by climate change, and also how they can adapt to these new changes in the environment. Let's take on this jingle break, and when we come back, I formally introduce to you my guest and of course a topic for conversation. Welcome back, dear viewers. Again, it's a pleasure to have your company. We hope you keep this company right up to the end of the program. Of course, what you're watching right now is Nature's Corner on the airwaves of High Television, and I am your host, JABI KATY. Today, we have a very interesting topic, and we are looking at women and climate change. And the topic of conversation for today is the effects of climate change on women. How can they adapt and join the fight? And of course, since we're talking about women, I have gathered two able ladies, strong women right here from the Southwest region, whom shall be talking to us about this particular topic. Let me start first from my left-hand side, as I have here with me a very beautiful and intelligent lady, a climate action activist, who is also the UN Global Climate Action Ambassador 2022 and the program coordinator of She Speaks Climate, which is a U.S. Embassy Yaoundé, Cameroon-sponsored project. And of course, I'm talking about the one and only Ewi Lama. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
The pleasure is mine.
So tell me, how was the journey to the studio?
Well, for us, it was not very difficult.
Mm.
Because we got a taxi, then knew exactly where we were going to, and here we are. And all the way from Limbe, I must admit that it's very hot.
Oh.
Yes, and I had to wear something that was a little sleeveless so that I can feel a little bit more comfortable to get myself here and relax as well. So I'm really glad to be here, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you as well. Of course, these days when it's hot, it gets really, really hot. And when it's cold, it gets really, really cold. Of course, we're talking about changes in weather patterns. And of course, my next guest, I'll shift on to my right-hand side. She is a women's right and climate security advocate. She is the editor-in-chief of Equate Women magazine, and she's been fighting for women's rights. And if I'm not mistaken, equally, the Southwest Regional Director for Equate Women's Foundation, if I'm not mistaken, and equally the CEO of ASOP. I'm talking about Mrs. Quinta Yochi. If I pronounce the name right, Madam Quinta?
It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna find you. It's okay. But yeah, it's pronounced Yuchi,
Yochi.
like
Okay.
you and chi.
All right.
Thank you for
So we're
having
talking
me.
about changes in weather patterns today. How is it dealing with you personally?
Wow, look at me. Okay. Yeah, changing in weather patterns, that's what we're going to talk about. But yeah, I'm experiencing it right now. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. I'm
Okay.
gonna sue the weather.
If we have a chance to. But there's another way we can make the weather maybe change or adapt to it is by trying to look for mechanisms to mitigate and adapt to it very well. Of course, we're starting the conversation now. First, we want to understand what climate change is. And for some of you, if you're a fervent viewer, you must have heard about this topic a few times on the program. But of course, for those who may just be coming in for the first time, watching the program for the first time, and may want to understand what climate change is all about, I'll go to my left-hand side with Ewi, the UN Global Climate Action Ambassador, to defend your title and tell the viewers out there briefly the concept of climate change and how it affects us in one or two ways.
Thank you very much again. And yes, let me defend my title. First of all, let me start by acknowledging that title, UN Global Climate Action Ambassador. I received that title at COP27 last year in Egypt. And this was out of 10,000 applicants that applied from across the globe.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing because for the first time the UN was putting up this competition across the world. It happened that a
Cameroon took the title.
Cameroon took the
Ah,
title.
impossible, never Cameroonais.
Impossible never Cameroonais. So it's something that is really, it gave me a lot of pride. It made me feel like, okay, there's something about Cameroon that we really need to be proud of. And yes, climate change, one of the things I advocate about is using minor language in explaining climate change. And I will use that same language in the conversation today. So climate change is actually a change in weather patterns across a particular place at a particular time over a long period. So that simply means, it means times when there's supposed to be sun, there's rain.